Hello, everyone. We are Marvel-ous Movie Mondays with
Hey,
Kelsey
that
and
was really
Dill.
good.
Yeah, thank you.
You're
I'm
welcome.
not trying to be too loud. My sister's already sleeping. She's got work in the morning. But I'm here with my other sister from another Mr. Kelsey. We're at the end of spooky season. We got a new Marvel film in theaters. We normally do these like movie reviews a little more formal, but there's also news that we have to address beforehand. So we are going to do that. We'll save all our spooky season updates till next week because that'll be our big Halloween special. But how you doing, Kels? How you doing on this hour of morning today?
I'm good. I'm a little tired. I don't know if you can tell in my demeanor and my face. I have a very messy room surrounding me because I
Mhm.
actually haven't been sleeping here for the past couple of nights. I
Oh.
was pet sitting for a family member in
Oh,
Jersey City. So this is going to be my first night sleep in my own bed in a long time, and I'm very
we love that.
looking forward to it.
That's great. I say hour of mourning. That's not a spoiler. More so mourning the Venom franchise because this is, as the title suggests, the last dance. We're not spoiling anything. Nobody
Right.
dies, or maybe they do, but we won't tell you until you get to the review. That rhymed. But yeah,
Nice.
we're mourning the Venom franchise, a franchise that I have clearly gone on record as saying I love. Kelsey likes, at least likes enough to want to cover them on this podcast. But we do have some news to get to before we get to Venom. Let there be. Nope, that's the second one. What is this one called? The Last Dance.
The Last Dance. The Last Kiss, actually.
Yeah, no, okay. So a little background before we get into it. So I first off, this whole time I thought the movie was called "Till Death Do We Part" because that's been on all of the posters, and I think it's actually a better
Title.
title for this film anyway. The Last Dance is so generic. But then when I was typing to our friends on the Dill Pickle Movie Network Discord, which you guys should all check out and be a part of and get on there, it's free to join. Um, I said, "We're now watching Venom: The Last Kiss." I had to quickly change it, to which Kelsey replied, "I hope they kiss." To which Matt replied, "I hope they," and you'll see if you're on the Discord what he said. Yeah, The Last Dance. That is what this title is. It's also probably the subtitle of like 1,000 other sequels. So that's one knock against it. But before we get into that, Kelsey, you said you had news to share. What news do you
Yes.
have to share?
Well, I don't know if you saw Dill, but Mr. Tom Holland has been making the rounds last week. He's been promoting
Yes.
his new beer brand he came out with. It's a zero alcohol beer called
Oh, that's why.
Zero.
I was about to say, I'm like, he does not feel like the face of alcohol or feel
No, no,
face
no.
of
He
anything that's not sweet, innocent little child. So that makes a lot of sense now.
No, yeah, his whole story is actually about how he got sober and that's why he wanted to create a zero
Interesting.
alcohol beer. Um But in doing this, he's now gone on record and said in multiple of these interviews that Spider-Man 4 is in fact in the works and is
Mhm.
planning to be in production in summer 2025. So we're looking at a summer 2026 release. So I just wanted to know, like, what were we expecting this? Are you not surprised? Are you excited?
I assumed we would get it. It's just like
Yeah.
I didn't know how soon it would be in production, and obviously we don't know who's involved except for him because obviously now no one knows
Oh,
who he is. But what?
sorry. Actually, he posted a deadline article
Okay. So I
on
guess
his
he leaked it, so they confirmed it. So now it's like a public news story. That's tends to be what happens with Tom Holland. He'll say something out of pocket. They'll be like, "Well, I guess we have to announce it now." Is there a date set, Kels?
It just says 2026, but there has been a director attached to it.
Oh, this I didn't know.
Do you
It's not
wanna
Sam Raimi.
do you wanna try to guess the director? He
Is
is a
it
no.
someone in the MCU?
Yes.
Is it Sam Raimi?
No.
Okay, I was gonna say.
No.
Um,
I'm sorry, Dale.
okay.
I know that you would have loved that.
Is it the Russos?
It is not the Russos.
John Watts.
It is not John Watts.
Is it Sean Levy?
No. Sean Levy hasn't done anything for the MCU.
Didn't
Well, I
he just
guess
do Deadpool and Wolverine?
yeah, right, right.
Yeah.
I forgot to
Well,
count
I'm trying to
that
think
in
of
my head.
recency. Is it? Oh gosh, what's his name? Who did WandaVision? Um,
I
well, I
don't
forget
know
his
his
name.
name, but it
Adam something. I don't know.
no.
I don't know. John Favreau?
No.
Huh? Where am I? Who am I? Oh, Match something.
No.
No,
Do you
Matt
want me to
Shankman
tell
was who I
you?
was thinking of, something like that. No, I want to Taika.
Oh, not Taika.
Ugh. Oh, is it? If it's Bowden and Fleck, I wouldn't know. Is it Anna
No.
Bowden and Ryan Fleck? No, okay, because they're my favorites in the MCU. My favorite director. Oh, Ryan Coogler.
No.
I was gonna say that would give away Miles Morales joining the crew. I don't know. Who else am I missing? I'm gonna go through the phases here. Joe Johnston.
No.
Okay, so I'm through phase one. Kenneth Branagh,
No.
Louis Leterrier,
No.
Alan Taylor.
No, you're way too far back.
Oh, Daniel Destin Cretton.
Yes.
Okay. I'm still fried with the trivia, y'all. You think I'm done? I'm not done. First, that was pretty good. I got there. I named
Yeah.
like almost every other director. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. All right. Great.
So
Don't really
exciting.
know what else. Yeah. I mean, we're excited. We like him. I think the last movie ended on a good note, but also opened the door for things to start up anew. I hope they do kind of take it in a fresher direction and not just kind of reset it early and just kind of rehash the same shit. So
Right.
I hope it's different. So yeah, there's nothing really else to say there. So Spider-Man joins the schedule, and sadly, we lose Blade. Blade has now been pulled from the schedule. It is no longer on the slate. That doesn't mean it's not going to happen, but it is
Wow.
now currently not in production, not on the radar anymore. That was the big news that I saw this week. That I was like, "Wow, okay, so it is what it is."
Damn.
Wesley Snipes, the only Blade, literally. Um, yeah,
So, damn. So, I wonder how far it got because it was still like in rewrites
yeah. Well, I think
from
that's
the
the
last
problem.
we talked about it.
I feel like they just couldn't settle on a good script or a good idea, and obviously, I know
Yeah.
Mahershala Ali was also very heavily involved in the process. Maybe he wasn't
Yeah.
happy with it. I'm sure we'll know more and more as more information gets leaked, and also if they eventually do bring it back, or if they recast, or if they get on brand new writers and directors. We'll find out someday. Um, but yeah, for now, Blade says goodbye. Spider-Man 4 says hello. So,
Mm.
the best in both worlds, but also the worst. So yeah, very interesting, Kels. Any thoughts on Blade?
I mean, I'm definitely sad to see it go. I That kind of puts that post-credit scene in Eternals to shit because that.
Yeah, I mean, almost as if post credits, maybe we should just stop, or maybe we should just like make it like Deadpool and Wolverine and just like throw back to a moment in the movie, or do the Spider Man thing of
Right.
Homecoming, where Captain America's like, "Not got nothing for you," because the more and more stuff you tease, the more promises you have to fulfill. Will we ever see Harry Styles again in the MCU? Probably not. So it's stuff like that. I doubt we will.
Oh,
So
really?
yeah, no, I mean, I don't know, maybe. But that's the thing is like they're making all these promises. I mean, are we gonna
Mhm.
see Clea, like Charlize Theron, like all these things? And I'm like, I
Right.
don't know. Are we gonna see Michael Keaton team up with Morbius? I don't know.
Oh my
Which is a
god.
good segue to what we have to talk about today, which is the Sonyverse. We're taking a
Yes.
little sidestep from the MCU, even though this is probably the most directly linked to the MCU any of these Sonyverse films have been, because obviously,
Yeah.
as we last saw Venom, he was in No Way Home, at the bar, in the multiverse. So there is talk of Thanos at the very top of this, and then they're like, nope, we're doing our own thing, which I like. But yeah, Venom: The Last Dance. Kels, what are your overall thoughts of Venom: The Last Dance?
I walked out of this one deal thinking two things.
Mm.
One, I thought I think it's my favorite of the three.
Oh, okay.
And two, I wish I had the time to watch the first two before I went
Mm,
into this one. We're both in the midst of our 31 days of Halloween, so it's just
yep.
impossible to watch anything other than like scary movies lately for me. So I wish I had the time to watch the first two. And I think I I do plan on watching this trilogy now completely through because there was just probably so many, like, moments that I missed that were callbacks to, like, the first especially, like, the first film, because 'cause I've been
Mm,
watching reviews and people talk about it because I wanted to be reminded of, like, everything that happened and everything. Um, but yeah, I just thought that it was, like, the most fun for me and the most, like,
yeah.
visually interesting. Like, I remember the first, movie being very dark, like, always being set on, like, at nighttime on the streets of
Yeah.
San Francisco. The second one gets especially dark, especially during the whole last, like, final battle in the
Mm,
cathedral with Woody Harrelson. And this one, I just liked how it kind of took place in a bunch of different locations. We saw Eddie Brock go through a bunch of different scenarios on a plane, getting thrown around in a river. We saw, like alien laboratories, all
mhm,
kinds of fun stuff.
yeah.
So yeah, I walked out of it and I thought I enjoyed myself,
Yeah,
you know?
this is a solid, like, 2 for me. I really love the second movie for some reason. I think it just
Mm, yeah, you
nails
do.
exactly what the Venom like, what makes it special. It's not the action, it's not the science, it's the 2 of them, and I feel like the
Mhm,
second movie is the most focused on that relationship, whereas this one is also done so, but I feel like all the stuff in the labs where Venom is not on screen for me, I was like, "Alright, fast forward," like, and you obviously don't have that luxury in the theater, which is fine.
yeah,
I love theaters. Not to say I'm pro streaming, but or over theaters, but like I do think there was something about just like every scene that didn't have Venom and Eddie. I'm like, I just don't care, you know. But
sure,
then when it is Venom and Eddie, it's fun, you know. It's a blast, and I think that's the thing is the first film took itself way too seriously. Second film honestly got rid of all the seriousness. Like Woody Harrelson, it's a cheesy villain. It's not supposed to be a good villain, and they nail it. The third one
mm,
here, they have to make it somewhat serious because it is this final farewell for these characters we love so much, whether that be death or just like sending off the characters, you know, because you the audience have grown now to love this pairing as much as they love each other. And
mhm,
it really is that bromance, and I like how they almost Thelma and Louise it. You know, they put them on a road trip and basically have them go through, like you said, all these different obstacles. Like it is a very expansive film, but as expansive as it is in scope in terms of location and geography, it is very personal in the actual bond between the two of them, which I really liked. It was kind of very sentimental to where if you cried at the end of this, like I did, it's
mhm,
justified. But if you also were like, eh, it's also I think a little justified just because it does kind of at times feel like it's just waiting to get to the next set piece. But then once it kind of does conclude, it does feel worthwhile. I think I did enjoy this a little bit more than you did. I was really digging it in the theater, but I also can admit there were some down points for me in it as well. But I think it's for a Venom movie, it gives you what you want. And then it tries to give you a little more, and the little more might be extra fat that didn't even need to be, you know, added. You know, it could just be trimmed from the start. But it's also a film that took place during the strikes, so they only had really one script to work off of. It was probably a lot of, well, we'll fix it in post, and that's why a
mm,
lot of the times the Venom and Eddie conversations themselves feel a little bit off sometimes because they probably didn't know what Venom was going to say half the time because they didn't write it
mm,
yet and they had the strikes.
mhm,
So I think for all things considered, and just for the Sonyverse being on a low with Morbius, and we love Madam Web, but Madam Web, you know, at least critically, I think this was a step in the right direction. But it is also the Last Dance, so it's a step in the last direction. So,
yeah,
um,
right.
a lot of cool things to talk about. What else should we talk about in here in non spoilers? Because we're gonna get into some spoilers eventually, but what other
Um,
thoughts do you want to tackle here? Um,
yeah,
in
Dill,
particular.
I think I just liked the introduction to so many different characters surrounding Eddie and Venom because I
Mhm.
feel like like you said, Jill, like really the heart of it and the fun of it is the two of them together, and that's all fun and great. But I also loved the addition of like the cast of characters around them. Like I thought, um, what's her name? Juno Temple did a
Mm,
great job in this film. This
okay.
was a very different character that I've ever seen her do, and I thought that she did a great job. And obviously we have Mordo in this film, which was
Should
fun.
we tell Edgefor? Yes, he's not
Can
playing
you
Mordo, but
okay, I know, but can you please say it slower so I know how to pronounce it?
okay. Chewy tell. So
Chewy
like,
Tell,
yeah,
like
there you go.
Chewy
Yeah,
Tell.
like I'm gonna go tell Chewy. I'm gonna Chewy tell.
Yeah, Chewy
Yeah,
Tell.
okay, okay. Like kiss and tell, Chewy tell.
Yeah, Chewy Tell.
Okay. Edgefor.
Edgeofor,
Mhm. Chewy tell
like
Edgefor.
edgy,
Edgefor.
Edgeofor.
Edgefor. Yeah, like she's an
Chewy.
edgy of 6. He's about an edgy of 4. You
Yeah,
know.
yeah, yeah.
Mhm. Mhm.
Chewy. Okay, wait. Chewy Tell Edgeofor.
Edgy of 4. Yeah.
Edgeofor.
Yeah, you're gonna get it. You're gonna get it.
Maybe
Um,
I might just call him Chewy.
you can tell him Chewy, like
No, no, no.
Chewbacca. Like no.
Chewy Chewy Tell is his first name. Chewy
Yeah,
Tell.
Chewy tell. Yeah.
Because I've been watching all these reviews and people like talk about him and they say his name so fast and I'm like, no, 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 wait. I
Yeah,
need
because
like a
it is very
breakdown.
easy to just like, "Chewy tell Edgefor." Chewy tell Edgefor. You know?
Edgeofor.
There you go.
Chewy Tell
Um,
Edgeofor. Okay.
yeah, there you go. You liked him though? You liked him?
Yeah.
Okay.
And I loved like we also have a different actor who we see in the trailers in this film playing someone completely different.
Uh-huh.
Most people know him as Dr. Kirk Connors,
Mhm.
but he plays someone wildly different in this film, which is very, very fun.
Yeah.
Um,
Reese Ifrans,
yes.
Ifrans. See, that one I have trouble with. But yeah, he plays like the father of this like family that they meet on the road. Honestly, I think again, like I'm so invested in the Venom Eddie relationship that the stuff in the lab, like Juno Temple and Chiwetel Ejiofor's like arcs, wasn't invested in them until the end when it all kind of culminated. Like up
Yeah.
until then, every time they were in the lab, because there's also Stephen Graham plays a character who's like kind of been through some shit. You think he's dead, but he's really not. Like, he's from previous movies that I forgot about. This is also what you were saying, like watching other movies might have helped us, but he's like a
Yeah.
previous character who's like going through something with his own symbiote or whatever, and all that stuff. I feel like because of how slow it was compared to how like brisky and fun the road trip stuff was, it
Hmm.
always kind of lulled the film in its tracks for me to where I wasn't as
Okay.
invested in Juno Temple and Chiwetel and all of them, but um I think once the finale hits though, and you see the choices that the characters make, I think it makes you understand their whole journey to get there in retrospect. But I think in the moment, I was just like, all right, I want to go back to the road trip because the road trip is really fun. And I will give the props to Reese Ifrans and Alana Ubach, who is the mother of that family. We
Yes.
loved her in Waiting. We hated that movie, but she was great in Waiting. I loved her in the Ted series. She's the voice of Mama Imelda in Coco. Like we love Alana Ubach here, but
Yeah.
she and that family, like that family on the road, that is, I think, the strongest part of the movie. When it's just
Hmm.
Eddie trying to be a normal person with all these strangers who mean well, who are also obsessed with aliens in Area 51, but the kid's scared of them. Like, I really like that because you could make a send off huge and big and spectacular, and they kind of do that in the third act, even though it's still a contained thing. It's not like you're destroying a city, like it's out in the desert, which I love because I hate when just skyscrapers just get blown up and knocked down, and it's like,
Yeah.
how are you going to clean that up? Whereas this is a desert, so it makes it a lot easier to like have these big battles without the threat of OCD destruction. But
Yeah.
I really found that I liked it when it was more intimate, when it was more personal, because this is all about closure between two people who love each other, and also through the lens of these other characters, they're able to really recognize that. And I think that's where the film is at its strongest. Like there's a whole like 5 minute scene where the family just sings Space Oddity by David Bowie on the guitar, and it's
Hmm.
emotional. It's funny because Venom's singing along too inside Eddie's head. So he's like, "This is ground control to Major Tom." But it's like really sincere. Like I really like those moments of sincerity a lot to where like it's still goofy and silly and funny and corny and camp, but it's
Yeah.
sincere. And then by the time it hits its final moments, like I'm emotionally invested in them like I've never been before, even though I have been in prior films. So I really like those really intimate moments on the road with the two of them. Yeah.
Yeah, Venom was really funny in this movie for me. He gave me a lot of laugh out loud moments. Like there's the moment that you see in the trailer when Eddie Brock is like hanging on for his life on the airplane. Um and they spot, something, and Venom just goes, "Jesus Christ." Like he just has this like really human like reaction to it. It's like really, really like informal for an alien, I feel like, to be saying that. And like you said, Jill, they literally call each other Thelma and Louise in the film. He's like,
Yeah,
"Where do
right.
we go? What are we doing now, Thelma?" And Eddie's like, "Well, Louise, I thought we might do this,"
Yeah.
which was really cute. And then, oh, what else? He said something else that made me laugh. Oh, right at the beginning of the film, it starts where we left off in No Way Home, with Eddie being stuck in Tom Holland's Peter Parker's the 616 universe in the MCU, and then being blast back to his own Earth. And as soon as they get there, Venom's like, "I'm so tired of this multiverse shit," and it's like,
Yeah.
yeah, Venom, us too.
Mhm. Yeah, like I really love their pairing because I'll admit it, Tom Hardy, he looks tired. He's tired. And I think that actually adds to the movie because it's like
Yeah,
Eddie's just so over it. He keeps losing his shoes. That's another gag in the movie, which I think was done
yeah,
cleverly because it also allows for some funny visual gags. But he loses his shoes throughout. He's just tired. He has to. He probably smells really bad. Like there's a whole scene where he like tries to get into a casino, and they're like, "You are rancid, sir."
yeah,
Like but it also makes you understand that like I think that's kind of where Marvel's at a point too. They're like, we want to do so much fresh and new, but we also have to stay true to nostalgia. But we're just tired, man. And I think this
Mhm.
movie kind of gives off that vibe at times that I actually appreciate. Because then Venom could be like, no, but we got to do this and that, and then he's just like, all right, man, I got
Yeah,
he's very
yeah.
he's hung over this whole movie. But I feel like that's kind of a cool response to also being a post-strike movie. The idea that all these movies are now like struggling to like get that green shake and go about their day.
Yeah.
The pro whatever, I don't drink hangover shakes, but I assume they're green. But yeah, like that, like they're really just trying to like wake up and brush off the headache and keep going, and that's kind of the
Yeah.
vibe of this movie, which I appreciate it, because a superhero movie, you expect bombastic, big action set pieces, and this has that at the end, but everything else is pretty contained. Even the big action set piece that we saw in the trailer of the horse Venom is only like 18 seconds long, which I think was a disappointment in the time, but I'm like, you know what? It's not about that. It's not about the spectacle, but I would have liked a little bit more of Venom can turn into animals now. What does that
Mhm.
mean? But
Mm.
yeah, I like those personal moments a lot. But yeah, what did you think of Tom Hardy himself as Eddie? Did you agree like he felt a little sleepy here?
I mean, yeah, for sure, Dill, I agree with you, but I also think that that was just where Eddie the character was at. I don't know if
Right,
it was necessarily like Hardy like phoning anything in. Like he definitely
right.
feels like still like committed to this, and like, he took part in like creating the story for this
Yeah.
movie. So
And he
obviously it
also
was,
voices Venom, so we clearly see he has an energy there as well.
yeah. And so it's obviously like a project that he definitely wanted to do right and that he cared about. Like it definitely didn't feel like, all right, just write me a check and like I'll do it sort of thing. Um, but yeah, Eddie himself is definitely like feeling very it's a good send off for him. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Because the overall goal, because we always think about like what are the characters trying to achieve in this? Because like I feel like for a while it was Eddie trying to learn how to cohabitate with this thing. He's
Mhm.
done that now. So
Mhm.
how do you milk another sequel? It's just like we just want to go to New York City and see the Statue of Liberty. Like they pose it like they're fugitives on the run, which they are, but it's really about like let's get to New York and see the Statue of Liberty. And it's such a small thing, but because it's so personal, it feels bigger than any other stakes for any other characters we've seen in recent
Yeah.
movies. It's got to where when certain dreams are fulfilled or aren't, you have an emotional reaction to it because you're like, ah, like I like that final those few final moments that resolve the overall objective and goal without giving too much away. Even though the needle drop was a little much. It was a little on the nose. The music they played at the end. I don't remember. I don't know if you remember what song they played at the end, but I was like, eh.
Is it sung by Frank Sinatra?
No, it was the here's to the one that we have. Here's to
Oh,
the
oh,
da,
yeah,
da,
yeah,
da, da,
yeah.
da, da.
Sorry.
I'm
For
like,
some
all right.
reason, my head just went to like New York, New York,
No, see, that
because
would
I
have
was
been
like,
fun. Yeah, but it
yeah.
was like kind of like at the end of it was a little going a little
Oh,
too far into it. Like they wanted to have their Twilight Breaking Dawn Part 2 moment, and I don't think it worked, but
yeah.
you know.
Well, I have other issues with like how with like that moment at the end,
Okay.
that you had commented on when we were at the theater, and I was like, yeah, I felt the exact same way.
Yeah.
Um, but another thing that I wanted to point out about this one, Dill, is that I don't remember from the other two. Again, should really have found time to rewatch them, but I felt like there were some really gruesome moments in this one that made me go like, "Ooh," and
Yeah.
I just loved, I know it was PG-13, so they couldn't lean into it too
I was gonna
hard.
say, I think the first one was R. That's why.
Mm,
Maybe I don't know. I'm gonna look them up now. The Venom ratings, because yeah, I'm very curious because I did agree there was a lot of gruesome stuff in this. Yeah, for
yeah,
sure. Especially at the end when you have more than one. I'll just say more than one Venom fighting it
yeah,
out. Yeah, yeah,
yeah, and there were just, like, some deaths that I watched where I was like, "Oh, snap," like, we went there, like, we went that far,
Oh, they've all
and
been PG-13. That's interesting.
yeah,
Interesting. Okay, I just assumed they were R. Yeah,
yeah.
they
I honestly
definitely
think,
drop an F bomb in this one at some point, though, right?
yeah,
They get their one.
the Kurt Connors says it. It's only
Okay.
one though. Only one
Right.
F-bomb.
Yeah, that's all you're
Um,
allowed.
but, yeah, I really think that this franchise could have done well having an R rating because I think that they could have leaned into the more gruesome, the more graphic, even like making them like a little bit spookier. Like you're having these movies come out like every October. Like,
Mhm.
lean into like the spooky season of it all, especially because like Venom is such an imposing kind of spooky, scary looking
He
dude.
looks
Like,
like a jack-o'-lantern, his face,
yeah,
you know? Yeah,
he has like a huge grin that's full of teeth. Like, that's scary,
right.
And I think that they could have leaned in a little harder if they weren't afraid to, slap the R rating on them.
Yeah.
Um, but
I
yeah,
agree.
I
I think
just
it's much more successful as a comedy buddy thing than it is a
sure.
horror or like a monster thing. The first one I
Yeah,
think leans the most into it, but even then it's like I think they don't realize. They're like, are we trying to make something a little more sci-fi horror, or are we making something funny? And I think the
yeah.
second one's like, no, we're making something funny. And then this one's like, but they try to make it very sciencey again, but it doesn't go the full mile like you said of leaning into the horror. Yeah.
But I also feel like, why can't it be both? Like,
Right.
why can't we
Yeah.
make something well-rounded and multifaceted? Like,
Right.
you could argue that, like Deadpool and Wolverine is a buddy cop movie, comedy with a lot of also gruesome violence.
Right, and it doesn't even have to be horror, it just has to be violent. Yeah, I agree with you.
Yeah.
And I think the problem is the first one didn't work, but it's not because you can't have 2 things. But I think they
Mhm.
thought it was because you can't have 2 things. It's like, "Oh,
Yeah.
well, we didn't focus enough on the comedy, so we're just gonna make the second one a full comedy," which I liked, but yeah, I agree with you. I think they could always go further with the action of this, especially because of the possibilities. Like, you can have him transform into any animal now. Show me more of that. Like not just
Mhm.
18 seconds of each one. Like
Yeah.
give me a big old fighting set piece where he's like a bird or a hawk or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
I feel like all the scenes that you think are going to be like these big moments are very short lived. Like there's a moment in the trailer you see of him dancing with Miss Chen, which funny, a completely random way they just bumped into one another. But anyway, I digress. It's
Yeah.
never the wrong time to go to Vegas, so I guess it makes sense. But like I expected that to be a big moment, but it was also over pretty quickly. Like I was like, "Oh, I
Yeah.
it's over?" So, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, before we get into like big spoiler talk
Right.
and, I do just want to touch about like just like right off the bat in the beginning of the movie, like the first 30 minutes was like exposition city. Like they were telling us everything, like
Yeah,
showing
and
us
twice,
nothing.
Venom was telling Eddie about the thing that everyone was attacking them for and why they had to
Yes.
go on the run, and then the scientist in the lab also mentioned what was going on. The same
Yes.
exact thing, just retold. Yeah.
And also, uh Andy Serkis, who voices the kind of main villain of this movie, if we can call him that. Also expositioned the heck out of what he was doing and what he needed and what he wanted and everything. But the thing is, still, I missed all of it because his voice is so low that I needed subtitles to
Yeah.
understand what he was saying. Like his voice is so low and like so like gravelly
It's
and
very like this. Every time he talks, it's a little
yeah,
like this.
Mhm.
yeah,
That's my Andy
exactly.
Serkis. Yeah.
And no, it was dead on, and I couldn't understand
Yeah.
a thing that guy was saying, so I didn't even really know what was going on, so
Yeah.
thank God it got repeated to me 3 more times in the first 30 minutes.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think when it works, it really works. But when it
Mhm.
doesn't, it really doesn't. To where I'm a little bit more mixed on it. It's funny because you're like, oh, this is my favorite of the three, and I'm like, it's not my favorite of the three, but it's not my least favorite. But I feel like I'm not liking it as much as you are. But I know I liked it more than you because I was in the theater. I was like I was like digging it. But now I'm thinking about it. I'm like, the stuff that doesn't work really doesn't work. But I think that's the thing with the Venom films is none of them are going to be masterpieces. So you just kind of have to be along for the ride and what you can enjoy, try to really lean into that, and I think you'll enjoy it. I don't know.
I mean, really, that's really my biggest complaint about it was that the exposition was going crazy in the beginning, and I couldn't understand what Venom was even saying.
Mhm.
When Tom Hardy was voicing Venom, because his voice is also like really low and like rough, so I
Well,
couldn't.
and Tom Hardy as Eddie is also a little rough too. He mumbles everything too. No one
Yeah,
speaks coherently in this film. It's
yeah.
yeah.
I was missing stuff. I was missing
Mhm,
vital information because they weren't showing us anything. They were telling us everything. So if you missed the line, like you missed what was going on.
mhm.
Um, which was that was again like that truly is my main problem with it. And a
Right.
few other and like two other things that I thought were weird. But
Yeah.
we can
You
get
want to save it
there.
for spoiler? Okay, so it is a
Yeah.
recommendation. I think for both of us. Like I think there's enough more to enjoy than there is to not. But don't expect this to be a masterpiece. Like it is my favorite Marvel. It is my favorite comic book movie of the year. but that's not really saying a lot because Madam Web's its own beast. Like Madam Web's probably my favorite, but like it's not great. And then I hated Joker 2. I didn't love Deadpool and Wolverine. So like this is probably like the top by default for me. But I think if you enjoy the Venom movies, you're gonna like the things that this does really well. There's gonna be a lot of new stuff you'll enjoy as well. The action at the end I think was solid. The actual conclusion a little sappy, but like if you're a fan, it's earned, I guess. We'll talk about it. So that's like my final like log line non spoiler thoughts. What's your like final words to depart to our fans before we get into spoilers?
Yeah, I would say like go as if you've seen the first two, you might as well just finish it and watch the last one.
Yeah,
And if you watch the first two and you enjoyed them, I think you'll probably enjoy this one as well. And you just go into it and you just like have a silly, goofy time and not think too much into it. Even
yeah.
though, okay, whatever. That's all I have
This
to say.
this
In
was
this
a
section.
good Saturday morning. We saw this on a Saturday morning, and it feels like that. Like you wake up, you go to the movies, you're kind of half awake, half asleep. You might have your own hangovers, and you watch it. You're done by 2 o'clock, and you have the whole day ahead of you. You know that's how I felt watching this movie, which is what it was for us. We watched it, and we're like, all right, fun. It's not an Oscar movie. It's not going to be a Pickle Award nominee for many things. What it is going to be a Pickle Award nominee for is going to be Best Needle Drop though, because there are two needle drops that I really love in this: the Space Oddity, and then obviously the Dancing Queen. So it's going to be in the Pickle Awards in some facet, but don't expect for it to get a Best Picture nomination. But we're about a half hour in, so let's transition to spoilers because there are things to spoil. I mean, this being The Last Dance, there is a death, which
Yeah.
I almost accidentally spoiled at the top of this podcast, but I think I worked my way out of it pretty well. But yeah, I mean, it
Yeah.
becomes clear throughout the whole movie that one of them has to die or both of them are going to die. I think
Yeah.
that wasn't a shock. It was more so which one.
Mhm.
And I think I think it went the way I thought it would probably go, where Venom sacrifices himself for Eddie and Venom dies, which was
Yeah.
a bit of a bummer, Kels. I was upset. What do you think?
Oh, yeah, I was damn near, like, crying when they were, like, saying goodbye to one
Yeah,
another. It
because
was tough.
it's the classic Hawkeye Black Widow of like, all right, he's done, and then boom, last minute bait and switch where he tosses Eddie out, and Eddie's like, whoa,
Yeah,
what's going on? And he throws the thing on top of him to save him. Yeah, it was a very tastefully done sacrificial death, I thought.
yeah. Yeah, you definitely I mean, you would be foolish not to go into this movie expecting at least one of them to die, and if not, like, I thought that it was either gonna end in one of them dying or at the minimum, like, they were gonna have to figure out a way where they part ways, and,
Like a
like
but was it Woody and Buzz Toy Story 4 thing of like
yes,
we got to
exactly.
go our own way? Yeah, yeah.
And, like, because with the whole trailer of Venom being like, "Oh, my people from my home planet are coming here," like, I thought it could have ended in a way where, like, he had to go back
Like
to where he
E.T.
came from.
Yeah,
Yeah,
where he's like, "I had fun here, but it's time for me to go back home and plant flowers."
yeah,
I think that's what ET does. Yeah, that's funny.
I think
I
so.
think also because early on enough they like introduced the whole idea of if you are if you are both alive, this thing glows. But if one of you dies, it'll be gone forever, or both of you die. So I kind of expected that death was going to be the ultimate thing in that moment. I agree.
Right,
Going
yeah,
in, there could have been a resolution, but I think it became very clear. And I also think they want to kind of have that opportunity to bring him back, but not feel forced to either. So it's like if we do a clean death, like they can be gone, but then they contradict it in the post credit scene anyway. But that's another
right,
thing.
right.
Yeah. What else do you have to talk about, Kels, for spoilers?
Um, okay, so I didn't know if, like, touching on this whole, like, alien believer family was a spoiler or not. I didn't
Mm.
wanna, like, ruin this surprise for people if they hadn't seen it. But, like, the whole, what's the character's name? His name's not Kurt Connors, but that guy,
No,
Marvin?
but
Is that his
everyone else had weird names except for him.
It was
Or
either
the movie
Marvin or
told us they were
Martin.
weird. I think it was Martin. Let me look right now. It was Martin Moon and his wife Nova
Nova
Moon
Moon,
and his kids Leaf and what was the other one?
Echo Moon, and Leaf Moon.
Echo and Leaf. I kind of love it though. I mean, they were trying to make it seem like it was a joke, but
Yeah.
I kind of liked it. I kind of liked it.
No, I liked it too, but honestly, like, Echo and Leaf, like, I'm so sorry, like, I've seen, like, mom talkers and, like, like millennials who are like having children and like naming them these days, and I'm like, they're giving them weird ass names these days. So Echo and Leaf are fully plausible names. You could
And they're
see,
not weird. Yeah, they're not as
yeah,
weird. Like we literally saw a whole show with a character named Echo, and like
yeah.
Leif Erikson, baby. He's
It's Leif Erikson Day, a hing a ding a durgan. Um,
um
so anyway, so this alien believer family is like riding along the extraterrestrial highway, which is an actual road you can take that follows a route towards
Area 51.
Area 51. But my question is that I again have to go back and watch the first two, but don't people know that like Venom exists like in the public?
I don't know though, because I feel like it's always contained around the scientists and contained around like, like the second one, it's a cathedral, it's a prison. Like I really don't think Venom
Yeah.
gets out there. I think in San Francisco maybe, but like
Yeah.
these are just people on the road. They never pulled out a phone. Like maybe they're just like
True. But
nomadic
they
kind of, yeah,
isn't there
almost like
that
Amish.
scene from the second one? It's literally it plays in our intro clip where Venom is like at a club, like partying, and he has like a microphone.
Yeah.
He's like, "Yeah." So I'm like, don't people know that he exists? And I guess like, yeah, okay, maybe this family is off the grid and out of
Mm,
touch, and they don't have phones, connection to TV, internet, whatever. But I'm just like, why? I was questioning the whole time why there would be a group of people that are still questioning the existence of aliens.
yeah. I mean, I know it's a multiversal thing too, but like we talk about Thanos early in this movie. The bartender brings it up or whatever. So like
Yeah.
clearly they must know about some sort of aliens. Maybe they do keep the ruse for the kids. Maybe the adults are like, let's go seek some shit out, but the kids are still a
Mm.
little hazy on it. I don't really know. I think that's a really good point. I didn't think too hard on it, but that is a good valid
Because
criticism.
then at the same time, it takes away the whole laboratory's objective of trying to keep it as down low as possible. Like they literally don't even use like it. The laboratory's at Area 51, but it's in a lower level called Area 55, where they
Mm.
do all of like the alien experimentations on things. So I guess the public doesn't know about
It
Venom or
must be a local thing. I want
symbiotes.
yeah, I wonder if like it's a local news story about Venom in San Francisco, or if it's just simply they don't realize he's an alien. They just think he's this thing. I really don't know. But it's a
Yeah.
good observation. Maybe we'll
It's
have
just
to rewatch the first two and see. Because they might
yeah.
clarify that.
Right. So anyway, um I really loved another part of like the exposition um trap that we were in the first 30 minutes was when we got introduced to Juno Temple's character and we had her whole flashback sequence about how she and her brother are like laying on the beach looking at the stars. They're twins because they say that to us. Don't worry, in case you didn't know.
They will let you know.
They will let you know because they're laying on the beach looking at the stars. He's fantasizing about being some like big like astrophysicist, astronaut, maybe like, one day he's going to be like, oh, I'm going to discover aliens. And because they're running on the beach, which he says this corny ass line to her and is like, when there's thunder, take cover or something. And I'm like, you're not talking to like a 5-year-old child. Like you're both like,
The same age.
seemingly like preteens, like 12, 13, like 14 maybe. Like why do you have to like tell your twin sister like, "Oh, it's thunder and lightning, like we should maybe get inside." Which
Yeah. It'd
anyway,
be like if you were trying to like explain to your sibling like how to pronounce Chiwetel Ejiofor's name. It's like
okay, I think that's a little different. How dare you?
I'm kidding. I'm
Me
kidding.
just trying to be respectful, trying to educate myself, and you just
Well,
throwing me right
maybe
under
she's
that
never
bus.
seen lightning. I don't know. It doesn't rain a lot in California, does it? I don't know.
I guess
Droughts?
I don't know, maybe they grew up in the desert. I don't know. But anyway, so they
Yeah.
start running from this thunderstorm and she gets struck by lightning. They're holding hands, so the bullet ricochets through her to him and kills him dead. And so now she has this kind of like Harry Potter lightning bolt scar on the left side of her body where now he's dead. And so now the entire time, the entire 5 minutes we're meeting this character, she's like, don't worry, like I'm gonna live up to my brother's legacy and like do this research for him, and only if he could see me now and what we've done here, he would be like,
Yeah.
it would be so great, whatever.
Yeah. I just
And
wasn't
I just
invested in them. Yeah, I just wasn't
yeah.
invested in any of those characters. And then the Christmas girl who, like, I get it, her last name's Christmas, so she has a Christmas brooch.
Y
But it's also
yeah,
like then
sure.
Chiwetel Ejiofor just like really had a problem with that. He's like, "It's July." I'm like, or he's not British in this one, but he's like, "It's July," and I'm like,
Yeah,
okay, and so what? Like, oh my
yeah,
gosh, like I have pumpkin things in my house all year round. Like, relax, chill.
yeah. I just think that these characters, like I think the thing that I had the most problems with was the script, and I guess, like, because of, like, the strike, it couldn't
Yeah,
be really established or
mhm,
reworked at all.
yeah,
Um, and so I just think that had these characters been, like, developed a little bit better or presented to us a little bit better, I think it would have worked because I really liked the dichotomy later on between Juno Temple's character and, uh, Chewie Tails. Chewy Tails,
sure.
because they have this great moment later on in the film where after his whole team of people gets attacked and murdered by either Venom or Eddie or the tracker from the other planet, um, he's like, I just lost 5 people. Like, there's something else out here. You didn't prepare us enough for this. And all she has to say is, oh, there's something else out there. Did you collect any samples? And he's like, "How could you be asking me for samples right now?" And I just think that this is such an interesting dynamic to explore between, a scientist who's like, willing to do anything and push the
Hmm.
envelope and to further their experiments and their research and their work and like really get invested with these alien life forms versus the military officials who were like, we need to protect human beings first and we need to
Right.
protect ourselves and we shouldn't be trying to make friends with these people. Like, we should be eliminating these guys because
Mm,
they're clearly here to take over. When
yeah.
she's like, at in the beginning of the movie she tells him to put on a suit so he doesn't get the alien sick. She's like, you're carrying germs that I don't want him to have.
Right.
And I thought it would have been so it could have been just so fun and so cool had it been, I think, developed a little
Yeah.
differently.
Yeah, I agree. Like as I said in the non-spoiler part, like I like how these
Mhm.
characters, all three of those like main science characters, like what their arcs are. Like the Christmas character like literally becomes a Venom and like saves a bunch of people and saves
Mhm.
Chiwetel Ejiofor. He kind of makes the ultimate like sacrifice as well to kind of help um destroy all of them with Venom and stuff. But like and then Juno Temple also turning into a Venom with like that sample or whatever. Like I really liked the
Yeah,
resolutions of those characters. It's just I felt like I didn't need all those scenes to like lead up to it, or those scenes are just so boring to me. Like just
sure.
interviewing Stephen Graham in the glass, and I don't know, I just so bored by those scenes. But I think it's also because I love Venom and Eddie so much that I just wanted to get back to them. But yeah,
Yeah.
I'm trying to think if there's any other big spoiler things to talk about. You wanted to talk about the ending a little bit with the Statue of Liberty. What you thought
Yes.
didn't work? Yeah,
Well, first of all, to comment on what you just said at the end, like I loved how Sadie, the Christmas scientist, made the choice to let Venom inhabit her, so then right at the end he can jump to Eddie and then save Eddie's life because they're
yeah,
about ready to kill him to,
hmm,
get rid of the Kodak that,
yeah,
Null
mhm.
his I had to look up his name because I couldn't understand what they were saying in the
No,
movie. I was like, "What? What was that?"
no.
For a second I thought um Venom was saying like, "No, I can't say it. Like I can't say the name because if I say it like something bad will happen." So I thought he was just going, "No. No."
No,
And Eddie and
no, yeah,
yeah.
yeah,
And so anyway, so his name's Null,
yeah,
Knull. Um and anyway, yes, so my issues with the end were this rancid, unnecessary flashback montage that they show us
with like
to
2 clips of Venom, 1 clip from Venom Let There Be Carnage, and, like, 12 clips from the movie we just
we had
watched that's
just
only an
watched.
hour and a half long.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
it was like I actually didn't need to be reminded of the scene that I watched 30 minutes ago. Like I
Right,
remember
and it
that
was, like,
scene.
literally the last scene with the kid. It's like, "What?"
Yeah.
It's like, "These memories bring back home." I'm like, "No, I'm not
Yeah.
nostalgic for something I watched an hour ago." Yeah,
Yeah, with Memories by Maroon 5 playing in the
yeah,
background and I was
and
just like
not a
this
good
is
song. No offense to Maroon 5, not a
yeah,
good song. It was cute the
this
first
is
time.
just so foolish. Also, regarding the end with the Statue of Liberty. I mean, I always knew that this was going to end with Eddie Brock visiting the Statue of Liberty,
I
kind of
thought it was
like in
great.
memory of
I
Venom.
thought that was great.
But first of all, I just want to point out, I love how they started this movie with Venom just being like, oh, I've always wanted to see the Statue of Liberty, knowing damn well that at the last fight of No Way Home was at the Statue of Liberty, and everyone was like, oh, is Venom going to show up? And he
That is
didn't.
funny. I didn't realize. That might have been a gag. That probably was a gag.
Oh, that was the first thing I thought of, Dill, when Venom was like,
that's so funny.
Yeah, he was like, oh, I've always wanted to see the Statue of Liberty. And I was like, oh, where fucking Andrew Garfield and Tobey Maguire were? Yeah, I also
now,
wanted you
nice
to
of you to now show up. Yeah.
Nice, exactly.
Nice. That's fun.
And then, what else was I going to say about the end? Oh, also, in the beginning of the movie, which was another thing that we got exposition to us, was when they were first deciding to go to New York, Eddie Brock was like, "Oh, there's this guy who did me wrong in New York. Like, I bet he could help us, or I want to go talk to him." And I needed someone on YouTube to point this out to me, that he was actually referring to a corrupt judge who got him kicked out of the city, which is also referenced in the first Venom, which is why he ended up in San Francisco, is because he like was not allowed in New York anymore. So I was totally anticipating on us like meeting someone at the end of the movie. And that never came around.
I think because if you do anything else after the Statue of Liberty, it's like, I don't know. I think that's such a good final moment to maybe like now, maybe we will get another Venom movie, but I feel like that would cheapen the ending of this one, because I think this ends in a really nice place.
No, for sure. I don't think we're going to get another Venom movie with Tom Hardy. I think that he's definitely done. At least that's what has said in interviews. But I think that maybe bring us to New York with Tom Hardy interacting with someone, and then have him go walk to the Statue of Liberty. You know, like they could do it in like a lazy way. That's like, oh, like, Eddie, are you coming with us? And he's like, yeah, I just there's one more thing I gotta do while I'm here. And then, you know, he fucking walks to the Statue of Liberty.
It takes a long time to walk too. It's like a lot of shots of him just like, just like walking while it's like, here's to the one that we have. Like, oh my god, like enough. Just like get there. But I do like that final moment. It's a good final beat. And then post credits, which were totally useless. Totally useless. I don't even remember what the first one was. The second one though was like, go with the first one. Go ahead with the first one.
I can tell you what it was. So the first one is just Null freaking out. He's like, no,
Null,
my plan didn't work, and now I have to do something else. And so it's like, this was the last movie of a trilogy, but at the same time, it feels like a movie that's setting up another movie, which totally took me out of it. Like, I felt like half conflicted, being like, oh, I'm saying goodbye to Eddie and Venom. And you know, I was going through that turmoil, but then at the same time, I was like trying to pick up on the breadcrumbs they were leaving me at the end, because it felt like they were trying to set something else up, when I just felt like this could have. Yeah,
they set up Null, and then the next one they're setting up like the fact that the little bit of symbiote left in the test tube that Juno Temple took, I think, right? Is that the one we're looking at, or is that a totally different thing?
I mean, it could be the one that she,
because the bartender's there for some reason.
Yeah, because they took him into custody because they saw Venom. So I guess in this universe, aliens aren't known to the public because
so a little symbiote got out of the test tube, and that's supposed to be like, oh, the Venom thing will keep going. I could see a world where we like get like a lady Venom. Like I think the thing is like Guardians did it too. It's like the Guardians team's done, but at the very end we got to tease a new Guardians team, you know, like I feel like that's kind of what they're doing, but like, is it actually going to come to fruition? I'm not sure. Sorry, I cut you off twice, but I'll let you talk on it.
No, you're good. Yeah, they were just like setting up a possibility. It was also a callback. This is not something that I thought of in my own brain. Not my original thought, but someone that I watched on YouTube pointed out the fact that the cockroach being the only thing left after the destruction was a callback to Juno Temple's introduction, when she was like, oh, cockroaches will be the only thing left in like the apocalypse or something.
As we see in Wall-E. Wall-E, it's the only thing on Earth. Yeah.
So honestly, Dill, the only thing that I liked about the last post-credit scene was because I love the idea of like Danny Rojas. That's not his name in real life. That's his character in Ted Lasso. But I would love the idea of him sticking around a little bit longer in like these Marvel movies, because, you know, I just like seeing him on screen. And that was the only thing I took away from that post-credit scene was
Gotcha.
like, oh, I hope Danny Rojas is going to be in more Marvel movies.
Yeah. I suppose credits. I'm getting a little tired of them because I feel like
Yeah.
it was fun when we actually had those movies slated and like done and ready to put out, and the post
Yeah.
credits was teasing to it, like Thor with the hammer and stuff. But now it's like now they're just throwing post credits in there, hoping that they come to fruition. Like there's so many characters now that I feel like, and this is not just like it's obviously not MCU, so they might actually have these plans. But I don't know. I feel like there's a point where we just got to say like maybe we should move on to something else. But
Yeah.
I don't know. I didn't bug too. It didn't bug me too much. It was a long credits also, so it felt like I was sitting there for a while waiting for
Yeah.
the post credits. But again, I
Yeah.
like sitting and waiting for the credits regardless to pay honor to all the people who made it. Because it was a strike production, so there's a lot of like people who probably did a lot of heavy lifting to make it come together in the end. So
Mhm.
yeah. Any other thoughts on it? I mean, there were some moments that had visceral reactions, like when he takes out the guy pissing. I thought it was weird how the guy just turns around, and, like starts like he's like, "Hey, buddy," and he's like pissing on his shoes. I'm like, that's weird.
Yeah, but I
Like
think
little
that guy was
moments,
like drunk as hell. I think he was
drunk
probably
and
like in a
yeah, kind of wanted to fuck Eddie. I thought, but I don't know.
I mean
Because
maybe.
I mean, he's got his like his dork out, peeing, and he like turns
Yeah.
to Eddie and he like slowly like walks toward him while peeing. I'm like, weird. But hey, I've never
Yeah.
been to Vegas. What happens in Vegas, I guess.
Right.
Yeah, Miss
Um
Chen just randomly being in Vegas on the slots, but like fine. It
yes.
led to a
So
great moment.
they literally have a last dance in this movie, which I
Yeah.
didn't think was completely necessary. I guess, it was fun and
Yeah.
I liked watching Venom have fun, but at the same time I was thinking like this entire movie like you've made it very clear that like if you if you shift into your full form, you're in danger. So why are you wasting it to do it right now, right here,
Well,
right
maybe
now
it's
to
not a
like
waste.
dance?
Maybe it's that's what he needed in that moment. Maybe he knew. Maybe he knew. I wonder how when Venom clocks that like he's gonna do this sacrifice. Like I really do wonder if
Mm,
he this whole time he's like I know it's the end, so I just want to make the best of it. Because honestly, I think that makes
maybe.
it more emotional. Where he's like, I know it's my ending, so I'm gonna dance with Miss Chen. Like I don't know.
Yeah.
I like that. Right, Mrs. Chen is her name.
Mrs. Chen, yeah.
Yeah, I like Mrs. Chen. No
There was
Michelle
another
Williams. No Michelle Williams.
no
That's unfortunate
Michelle
though.
Williams, which
I
is a
missed her.
bummer.
I missed her. Yeah.
Um,
What else,
but
Kelsey?
speaking of Michelle Williams, so Dill,
Oh,
there was another thing that didn't get resolved for me in this
okay.
film,
Yeah.
and it was the fact that when Eddie Brock is first caught on a security camera in Mexico, we get taken to this very secretive room with a bunch of security cameras on the wall. There's two people in the room, but their faces are not facing us. They have their backs to the camera. And we just hear someone I like say like I found you, get me General Strickland, which is Chiwetel's character.
Mm.
But we never find out who this guy was. And to me, I'm watching it thinking that looks like Michelle Williams's new boyfriend from
Oh,
Venom Let There Be
interesting.
Carnage.
Interesting.
And in the credits, the actor who plays that guy, Reed Scott, is listed in the credits.
Oh, so that was him.
So, what was he doing looking for Eddie Brock? You know what
I
I
don't
mean?
know. I don't know. Again, unresolved stuff that I feel like that's a writing thing. It's like
Unresolved,
they
yeah.
had an idea and they're like, scrap it. But then they already filmed it, so they're like, just keep it. you
Right.
know. Um, yeah, good
So
point. Yeah.
it was weird. Because I remember like thinking because I literally while I was getting my thoughts together, I was like, wasn't the FBI supposed to be going after him? Like I thought like
Right.
final end sequence was leading up to like the FBI trying to find him, Area 51 trying to find him, and then like the tracker from outer space trying to find them, and then all of that coming to head. When in
Mm.
reality, it was only two of the three aforementioned
Yeah. Yeah, because he
forces.
keeps saying we're on the run, we're on the run. I'm like, from
Right,
who?
right.
Yeah, it's a good point. Yeah, again, I feel like it's biting off a little more than it can chew, or it just wasn't given enough time to actually bite it.
Yeah.
Bite the chewiness, chewy tell. Um, yeah, I'm
Never
just
gonna
trying to think
live
of
this down.
other things to talk about. I mean, I think it's very fun. The stuff with the family is great. We needed a little bit more Alana Ubach, I thought, but
Yes,
yeah.
100%. I agree.
Yeah. Anything else, Kels, that you that have to bring up?
Um, my notes are truly
So
all
you
over the
can tell the
place.
sleepiness of spooky seasons catching up on us both because we're both just kind of like, yeah,
Yeah,
unresolved
what's
plot
up?
line. Yeah. Um,
Um,
anything else?
oh, I love the different uses of all the different Venoms at the end. Like, I loved how
Yeah,
they were different colors. I love how they had different powers.
yeah,
To me,
double-headed ones. Yeah, it was fun.
yeah, it felt like to me at the end that Juno Temple's symbiote still lives within her, and
Hmm.
that she is gonna like live on with these powers. So maybe that becomes something. Who knows?
Maybe, probably not.
Um, I almost cried at the end.
Yeah, it's emotional. That send off is emotional
Yeah,
because you also, yeah, you know it's coming, but when it happens, it's like, oh, we're actually doing this. You know, OTP, one true pair.
yeah. But, I still stand by the positives that I said in the beginning, that
Yeah,
it was the most fun for me. Definitely my favorite of the 3.
nice,
Um, and yeah, that's pretty much all I have to say about Venom:
nice.
The Last Dance.
Did you give it a rating, Kels, at all? No.
Oh, well, I gave it 2.5 stars on Letterboxd, so I guess that's
Yeah,
like a
it's like a
5
5
out
out
of
of 10.
10.
Yeah, I went a little higher. I
But
went 6 out of 10. So, like, that makes sense. That checks for us.
yeah, I think I have to give it another watch. That rating will probably change on a rewatch
Yeah, that's fair.
once I put all the pieces together from the first 2 movies.
There you go. Well, that is our review for Venom: The Last Dance. If you're wondering where our Agatha review is, you're gonna have to wait 2 more weeks. We're gonna kind of fill out November with Agatha because next week we are going to be doing our 31 Days of Halloween wrap up, where Kelsey will be talking about her 31 frights. I'll be talking about my 31 days. We'll be talking about our favorite movies. Our least favorite will be in costume. It'll be a lot of fun. And yeah, and then we'll get back to Agatha after that. Kelsey, any other words? Any other thoughts? You're down to
Um,
do costumes, right? Or if not, we can forgo it this year.
no, I can do a costume.
Okay, cool. Yeah, it doesn't have to be all out, but it probably will be because it's you. In a good way. It's a compliment,
Thank
but
you.
I will probably be a little lazier about it. Anywhere else they can find you, Kels? And where can they find these 31 frights of Halloween?
You can find these 31 frights on my TikTok, and my TikTok username is at Kelsey A. Kilp, Kilp. You can follow me on Instagram at Kelsey A. Kilpatrick, and you can check out my letterbox as well as I mentioned, which is the same thing as my TikTok at Kelsey A. Kilp.
Absolutely. And you can find me at Dylan_Randazzo on Twitter, the Dylan Randazzo on Instagram, Dylan Randazzo 417 on TikTok, the Dill Pickle Movie Network on TikTok, or the Dill Pickle Movie Network on YouTube. We're doing a lot of fun things. I'm sleepy, so I'm going to go to bed. But check out Venom if you saw it. Let us know in the comments below what you thought of it. And if you thought this was the best of the trilogy, or if it was the second best of the trilogy, or if you disagree with both of us and this is the worst of the trilogy, it's one of those 3 options. So either you're Team Kels, Team Dill, or Team neither. Just kidding. There's no teams. It's all Team Venom because we love them. That one true pair, Eddie and Venom, as they sail off into the sunset on one last ride, Thelma and Louise style. Except one of them does survive. So anyway, thank you so much for watching, and we'll talk to you all next week for our 31 days of Halloween wrap up, our Halloween spooky special. Enjoy the rest of your spooky season and happy Halloween, because we're not going to talk to you till after Halloween, but happy Halloween. Bye.